Audio Jungle.
Welcome to the HuskGuys podcast. Oh yeah!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to HuskGuys podcast. It's October 25th, a Wednesday evening. We got Dave and Andrew here. Just to do this, just the two of us this week. We got the governor coming up next Tuesday, launching next Thursday. But just the two of us for tonight. We're going to talk Northwestern. We're going to talk upcoming Purdue. And probably going to kick off one of my favorite stories of the week is this Michigan story. But before we do that, a word from our sponsors. First sponsor is Pipeline Jerky, as always. Please buying jerky. Now that we're winning, we've won 4 of our last 5. We've been selling a lot of jerky, which has been outstanding. So buy Pipeline Jerky, support the offensive line. If you buy some, maybe we'll have some healthy players. I don't know, maybe not, because they're basically all hurt. But keep buying it. Appreciate you guys. HuskGuys store. Grab some merch. We got some cool gear. We're selling like crazy. If we die, we die, which is one of the most fantastic shirts of all time. We're selling those like crazy. Got some Go Big Red stuff coming out. Check that out. And then Land and Lore, as always, men's natural skincare product line. We know the founder, and when you're watching Big Ten football week after week and maybe feeling dry and sapped of energy. So you might like to reminisce on old highlights and watch old school fullback dives, but you want to feel and look like you did when you were the most dominant program in all football in the 90s. Huskers are fighting for the throne. You can fight back against aging, dry skin, wrinkles, and the gray hairs. Go to land-lore.com. Hit HuskGuys 10 at checkout. Go to land-lore.com. Proud sponsors of the HuskGuys pod and Wrinkle Killer. All right. Sponsors in the way.
Nailed it.
Crush the sponsor. Crush the ad read. We got to start with this Michigan story because I am obsessed with this story. So unbelievable. Unbelievable. The kid is an absolute legend. So to catch everybody up, I'll put this background in here. Catch everybody up if you're not paying attention. So Connor Stallions is a former Marine who is obsessed with Michigan football the way that we're obsessed with Nebraska. And has been planning, I don't even know where to even start with this thing. He's been on a mission to essentially take over the Michigan program and is trying to prove his worth to Michigan.
Yeah.
So he had created a 400-page manifesto, which just came out today. Yeah. His vision on how he wants to save Michigan football. And he has been actively scouting on his own.
It's psychotic.
Other teams and stealing their signs on his own, and he's worked his way into the Michigan program over the last 2 to 3 seasons.
Yeah, he's making,
and now he makes $55,000, and he is a sign stealing guru. His whole thing, and apparently he deleted this from LinkedIn, that said his thing in the Marines was he's basically like a cyber criminal warfare guy that knew how to find weaknesses in other enemies' attack lines. So he now applies that at the college football level.
Yeah.
He bought tickets to every game and has people go to the games and just films the game with their cameras. Throughout all of anybody that they're about to play, he does advanced scouting. He breaks the signs, breaks the signals, and you can see him on the sidelines in dozens of films across all of the last few games. Anytime a play is called, he is signaling in the play from the sideline. So here's my hot take on this. I love it. You have to kind of nuance it. I hope they vacate all their wins.
All of them.
Because that means we're 5-2. And if they vacate all the wins from this
score, can we choose the score they vacate it by? We won by 112.
If they vacate the wins, we're 5-2 and we're in first place in the West.
Yeah.
And in the driver's seat. So there's a nuance to it. I hope they should get the death penalty for all of the for the reasons for the competitive standpoint. But on the other side of it, I love this kid because this is the only thing I think about.
You can't be buying recruits burgers and doing this thing that everyone apparently sort of does in the same year.
I just think this is I am him. He is all I think about is saving Nebraska football. We started Pipeline Jerky, we started HuskGuys, we started all of these different businesses. The only thing I think about is saving Nebraska football. And he's taken that. Nobody's even asking him to scout.
Just not in this way.
And he's going to scout other teams. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, the story that came out from I had some quotes written down from Ross Dellinger, and they had talked about it on their podcast as well. But just the way that it happened is incredible. I mean, like the intricacy of it is literally like this is like a Navy SEAL that is trying to act like a Navy SEAL but apply it to football. And,
It's brilliant.
and it's just he's treating the field like a war zone, and he's trying to like decipher signals from like his LinkedIn said it was something like I'm trying to find weaknesses in enemy lines.
Yeah,
Like,
well, and his enemy lines are now Michigan State.
Why is that in your business profile?
Now it's Michigan State.
Yeah, so enemy lines, I guess. But yeah, so just one little excerpt from this article, just detailing how incredible it was. The biggest detail he left out was that he bought all these tickets in his name.
Yeah, and he's like Venmoing people.
I mean, if you are that high up in the military or were, like, you got to have a couple fake IDs out there somewhere.
Oh, yeah. And he was trying to, I mean, this is the beauty of the internet too. That's why this story has so many, it's like so beautiful. I mean, he actually had a decent-ish setups. He was Venmoing people or doing Venmo requests or sending them Venmos in code, but like his Venmo was public.
Yeah.
And so the internet found it. The internet found it, gone. That was gone. Like he had to delete all this stuff.
He's like, here, Goose. Here's some tickets. Sincerely, Maverick.
No, he was asking for like pizza and stuff. He was like, thanks for the pizza. But like somebody had looked in and like, it was basically like all of the last, they timed them all up to be like Big Ten games, and like the pricing, like the prices are the exact same as the tickets.
Here's 2 pizzas on the sideline at the Tennessee game.
I love it. I think it's great. I think
so. Here's an excerpt. At 11:42 a.m. that day, Stallions purchased a single ticket to the Tennessee-Kentucky game on October 28th. 3 minutes later, he transferred the ticket to another person. That person did use the ticket, attended the game, sat in a seat positioned opposite their sideline in range of the viewing staff signals. A source confirmed. So here's where the rule of the letter of the law comes in. Like, no matter what side of this you're on, the problem is that the NCAA is constantly in a power struggle. And like, I actually think that even though everybody tries to steal signals, the way in which they did it is illegal.
It's the Astros thing. You can't use video. You can't use video technology and advanced surveillance.
Right. So if this, here it is, plain and simple. If a school learned information through scouting future opponents' games in person, that violates a near 30-year-old NCAA rule. If the school learned information through the use of recording or video devices, that violates another NCAA bylaw. So, I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's not the fact that they're stealing signals, because I'm sure someone on Nebraska's sidelines trying to do that every single game too. Hopefully, yeah. I mean, honestly, hopefully we've got our own Connor Stallions, and hopefully he's got just as good of a name that might be his fake alias. I don't know, but
I mean, again, it's like, on the one hand, great, they should vacate all their wins, specifically the one where they beat us 1,000-0. That should be vacated because
be fine. Yeah,
because clearly, like, they cheated to do that. We would have beat them, but they didn't know our signs.
We had them where we wanted them.
I was sort of on the side of the Astros as well. As like, I just feel like in the modern day, you're playing in front of 90,000 people. If you don't want them to steal your signs, just go huddle. Like, it's like, where they got like stuff
involved in college football. Yeah.
But it's like it's like
signs that the entire
it's like what's the easiest way to like not get your signal stolen? Do the thing that they've been doing for the last 100 years, like going to the huddle. Like the same like with the Astros, it was like, oh man, they're stealing our signs. All right, don't just do one fastball.
Yeah.
There's 45,000 people in the stands watching. Is everybody supposed to like close their eyes? Like, oh, you can't figure it out. Like the way they did it with, they did it with the video, they did it with the camera. You can't do that. But also, like, I appreciate anybody who's trying to get every possible edge to win. And I think he was, and they're doing it. I still hope they vacate their wins, and I hope the NCAA cracks down. They probably won't, because like, what are you going to do? You can't do anything right now. You like totally ruin the season.
I mean, if they find that, if you're the deal with the NCAA, like the only reason I think they're going to get in trouble is like the NCAA has been having such a hard time from the transfer portal to, even Harbaugh's recruiting violations that seem so minor. Like, but he got suspended.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And they, allegedly it was like, well, we looked into it ourselves and I'll give myself a suspension. But, the pressure was on with the NCAA in that regard. But then they're getting stomped on by like Kansas recently had a big scandal, and then they got in zero trouble. NCAA is just constantly in this power struggle, and they're trying not to admit that they're like a little brother to the conference presidents and everything at this point, and they're trying to just be like, hey, we're in charge. Hey, these are the rules. Hey, you can't break our rules.
I just don't know. You can't suspend them right before the playoffs. Like they're going to make the playoff. Yeah. You can't like dramatically alter college football, or can you? I don't know.
I think it's unprecedented right now, but you can. You're the NCAA.
I just think like everybody's kind of rooting. I got a bunch of Chicago Bears fan buddies they're rooting for it to play out, that he gets so sick of it that he leaves and goes to the Bears.
Yeah,
which also would work out great for Nebraska. So I'm in favor of that too.
That's totally fine.
It's just like it has the potential of like.
Didn't know.
No,
there's just no way.
Kidding me? No.
I mean, it's absolutely.
He's standing next to him on the sidelines.
Yeah, he's literally. Hey, how do you guys know all these plays?
Like, wait, who's the kid? Who's the kid standing to my right? Who's got?
There's this guy that I hired that actually went to Navy. And is known to be decoding foreign armies. Oh, I guess
he's standing next to him on the sideline. Did you see the video where he's standing next to him on the sideline, and Ohio State looks to the sidelines, and then he looks like really intently, and then he sees the play and he calls it in, and all the other players also call it in, and the offensive coordinator is calling it in. And they're like,
the whole sideline.
What's Harbaugh say? I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah, I just met him.
How did he get on the sidelines?
I really liked his LinkedIn bio.
Yeah, I don't know that. Who's the guy that's radioing in signals to my defense? Like, I don't know who that guy is.
I mean, is there anything in the world that is more Jim Harbaugh than hiring somebody that went to Navy and described himself as being adept at identifying the opponent's most likely course of action and most dangerous course of action?
Yeah.
That is this guy, this analyst in a nutshell. I bet Harbaugh saw that and said, done. I'm in.
Yeah. Well, that's what I applaud it, because that's like, I think it's our calling in a lot of ways. Like, we've got these careers going on. It's like, well, what's the best way to maximize your potential in your career path? It's to help the football team you love win football games.
Done.
And if that's stealing signs or selling jerky or starting podcasts, do it. I feel like I got a text today. Brian Rayner texted me, and he's like, where's your dedication? How come you don't have a 400-page manifesto? Like, all you have is a jerky business. Like, wow, that's a very good point. Good point.
We do. We weren't going to release it. In the light of recent events of Connor Stallions.
I need a manifesto. I need one. I need to read his manifesto. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to make it my own manifesto.
Is you don't hear that word thrown around too much unless someone is committing a horrible crime.
It's not maybe not a great descriptor, but regardless,
if he called it the Michigan Manifesto, I mean, that's
it's like a 15-year, it's like a 20-year plan to put himself in charge of Michigan. It's crazy. Dude's crazy, but I love it. All right, we can transition out of it, but that's
how I become coach.
That's just an incredible. What a story! I don't know. I think it's great stuff. We can transition into our wonderful football game. We won. We've won 4 of our last 5.
Yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
So
I don't think we need to spend too much more time analyzing it.
It's to win. I don't think anything bad happened. Did anything bad happen? Okay, we do have to. So first, because I feel like we both called this before the season started.
Yeah,
and I cannot believe how well it's playing out.
It's amazing
in the sense of I feel like I've always gone into the season thinking everybody would be bad.
Yeah,
and it'd be like, wow, everyone's gonna be bad, and they're actually bad. This is actually the worst Big Ten ever. It's usually Wisconsin gets good towards the end of the year, or Iowa starts to differentiate or separate themselves. Iowa losing in excruciating fashion, Wisconsin almost losing to an Illinois team that we made look like a junior high team is crazy.
Yep.
Wisconsin is extremely vulnerable. Michigan State lost 49-0. Purdue is 2-5. Right. So if you go in order, we've got Purdue next, who's 2-5. You've got Michigan State, who lost 49-0 to Michigan. You've got who's right after that? Maryland, who lost to Illinois. Crazy. Wisconsin, who almost lost to Illinois, and then Iowa, who just lost to Minnesota. It is a vulnerable schedule.
It is keeping us afloat, that's for sure. And I
The
mean,
only problem being
yeah,
we might not be that good.
we might not have. We might just be like we used to have way back in the day an all freshman team. We might just do that and just
Yeah.
just start our freshmen. Just like there's a varsity and JV. We're just gonna.
I will say
That's all we have left.
I had this thought coming into like how do you summarize the game? And I texted you this at the beginning of the game too. I feel like you've gotten to a point with watching enough Husker games to know, like literally after the first or second snap of each possession, how the game's going to go.
Yeah,
right. Like
interception.
Well, but even like you go back to like the Michigan game was like, within 2 snaps, you're like, okay, we don't belong on the same field as them. But this one was like first play of the offense was interception, but then right after that, shut it down.
Yeah.
And I remember texting you, just like, we need 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't score after intercepting the first pass of the game,
right,
like, they're not going to score the rest. I just was like, this defense is incredible. Yeah. And I just had that feeling. I was like, we need 1 touchdown, which is literally like, that's the only thing getting me through this. Like, I think the offense is torturous to watch. But it's like, if you have the mentality of like, we need 1 touchdown, 1 field goal, and you win the game. 1.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And Harburg can do that. He can give you 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
It's painful.
I'm worried when we need 2. That's going to be the
all right. Forget it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the good news, bad news of it is that the good news is we have a defense that can win us some ball games.
Yes, absolutely.
Just looking into things, and 313 yards per game we're giving up. That's 21st in the country. 4.6 yards per play is 16th in the country. We have 10 sacks over the last 2 games and 19 tackles for loss. That's against the 2 Big Ten West foes. Butler, Nash, Gifford. I mean, these guys they've all taken their game just to another level. You get Reimer back, and he's playing well now. It's everybody, like, you feel free to gush about this defense. Like, you never know how things are going to go in like the off season and then next year, but it is, I mean, feel free to just celebrate and just enjoy yourself watching this defense. I mean,
I think that
the best example of like confidence in a defense is there were points when Minnesota, we had one breakdown in coverage. I think they got on top of Hartzog. Yeah, Northwestern. And so they get it down to with like the 10-15 yard line after he ran them down in a huge play to do so. It was either Omar Brown or Hartzog, I can't remember, but
Hartzog
runs them down, makes a tackle. And I was like, that's a huge tackle because they are not going to score. And we held them to another field goal.
It's truly, I mean, it's crazy how similar to 2009. Like, if you remember 2009 with Sue out there, you're like, they're never scoring. You had Sue, and you had Dennard and Prince.
9.5 a game or something, 10.
Yeah, but you're just like, they're just not scoring, which is what a
wins it. I mean,
unbelievable feeling. With that, I think that's where, like, when you say 313 yards per game we're giving up, that includes terrible games with Colorado and Michigan. I just think when Illinois less than 10, 7 points given up. Northwestern under 10, only 9 points given up, right? And then like Northern Illinois, it's only 11. Minnesota is only 13. It should have been 1 less after that miracle touchdown catch that they threw right at the end. Like, Minnesota was under 10 the entire game. Like, the fact they were holding Big Ten teams, 3 Big Ten teams under 10 points, the duration of the game.
I mean, we've had 2 teams put up over 35 points on us, and we're averaging giving up 19.3 points a game, which is top 25.
It's even more impressive. It's even more impressive when you think about like the offensive blunders of, like, they're starting every drive defending from
just handing it to them,
like the 30-yard line, which it's like, it's crazy because it's, we joke about the Iowa football strategy, but like they at least,
it's gross.
But they at least punt, right?
Well, yes, yeah, that's
like they punt and then control the field. Well, they punt. That's what they're good. I guess I'm saying, like, we turned it, like, at the end of the Illinois game, going into the first 3 series of the Northwestern game, we turned it over 4 out of 7 times, or like 5 out of 7 or something like that. Because we turned it over basically 3 of the last 4 drives of Illinois, and then interception on the first play, interception on like the third drive. And they're just stopping. Illinois didn't score on any of those. Northwestern only scored on 1 of those turnovers. Like that's crazy. Like, I guess if you think about it, if we could just go 3 and out and punt, if you just go 3 and out and punt, you at least get the ball back at like, it's even more impressive that they're stopping them from not scoring at all. And when they start their drives on the 30-yard line.
Yeah. I think the thing that you take from this game is that our defense has bought our offense a little bit of time, I guess, to continue to try to develop. But I am extremely concerned that with the injuries that we had, like, I don't know that how do you keep overcoming that? Like you can, we basically struck gold twice these last 2 games. And we are very lucky that we are playing a not so good Purdue squad this weekend again, and that we have a chance to win. Not only that, but we're somehow favored by a few points.
Like 2.5.
So, it's going to be the exact same thing, because now you're down your best remaining wide receiver, Billy Kemp. You're down 3 O-linemen. And so the difference in the offense and defense is ridiculous. But Purdue I don't think they're going to score more than 14. We just got to figure out a way. How are we going to put up 2 touchdowns on the board?
How are we going to put up?
Yeah, I mean, so
what a stupid we score 17. So
this is the Big Ten West in a nutshell. Like, if you're
pathetic,
this is it. It's just, how are we going to score 2 touchdowns to win this game?
Which is so great. Like, how many? We've scored like 10 touchdowns all season. Not even that. Let's see, 1 versus Minnesota, 2 versus Colorado. Yeah, I don't like that I can singularly count out our touchdowns.
It's not good. So it's not good across the board for the offense. Our yards per game is 101st in the country at 328. Our points per play is actually a very defining characteristic of most offenses, 107th in the country at 0.29. Our yards per play is 80th at 5.2. Our third down conversion is 37.2. That's 82nd in the country. The good news, Purdue is one of the worst defenses we'll play.
Okay.
for at least a little bit. So
yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, it's hard to like make heads or tails of Harvard, because part of me is, it's such a great story, and he's the Kearney kid, he's a Nebraska kid, and he's like playing his heart out, and he's tough as nails, and he runs like crazy.
Yeah,
but he completes under 50% of his passes.
Was definitely a point in every single Husker fans. Where it was like, everyone started thinking, was Sims, he that bad?
Well, I think it's a little tough with Sims too. Yeah, because you're like, I truly love the way that Harvard. I love the way that he runs. I think he runs hard, but I mean, even that first interception, Fedoni's wide open, and so it's a little hard to tell if
airmailed it.
It's hard to tell if Satterfield's you're like, well, he's kind of calling, everybody's open on a lot of these plays, even playing with damaged goods players. Let me ask you that question. How do you rank Satterfield, or how do you rate Satterfield with the fact that he's coaching a team without its starting quarterback, 3 or 4 starting wide receivers out, top 2 running backs out, top 3 linemen out?
No, yeah.
It's kind of hard to be I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to be too hard on him. It's just the only thing that I can make sense of is that there are teams that, if you are playing within a good system, you'll be like, who the heck are these players? They just put them in, and they keep, getting open. They keep having great quarterback play. They make it easy on their quarterback. They open rushing lanes when they can't pass. They open passing lanes when they can't run. And we came out, and our designed plays were pass first play of the game, interception.
Yeah, and then pass again.
There's just things like that I'm like, are we just maybe we're overthinking things a little bit. And so there's definitely designed calls that he is making and like he's planning on that are questionable because like I just think the first series of the entire game, you literally, it is the first play of the game. Just let's get some momentum going if you can against the a rush defense that's outside the top 100.
Yeah.
So there's questionable moments, but I absolutely agree that like it is way harder to give somebody a failing grade when like all of the tools that he designed this offense for are missing. I mean, he's
here's the other
empty.
The great comparison, exactly what you just said, is a true system. You could put anybody in there.
Yeah, look at the Chiefs.
I was gonna say, look at our defense.
Sure. Yeah.
So he's playing 18, 19 guys at a time. He just put a scout team guy in.
James Williams.
A scout team kid.
Never heard of him. I will be the first to admit.
He's on no rosters. No one even knows who this kid is. He showed up to camp this summer. No one had heard of him. Knighton pulled him out of some random JUCO camp, walk-on kid. You pull that kid off the street, you put him at DN, and he has a game-winning sack. That is a great system.
Sure.
And we do not have that.
Yeah, it's plug and play for those, and you might expect some drop off and stuff, but yeah, you absolutely, you see with our defense, just like I don't know who this guy is, but he seemed good at.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I think Nash and Ty are definitely separating themselves as the men among boys, but for the most part, anytime there's a tackle in the backfield, you're like, and that's number. God, okay, 90. Who's that?
Yeah, you're trying to memorize the roster. They're playing like 3 deep back there. Yeah, it really is awesome to watch the amount of rotation and the lack of drop off. Like it is so promising for the.
I just think I don't know. The offense is crazy because it's so bad and it's so turnover prone. And like, but I think what kills me the most about it is like, it always, and Sims did it too. Is like when they can't like catch snaps.
Yeah.
At the Power 5, Big 10, Division 1, $100 million business level, you're like, you gotta catch a snap.
Let's start there.
Like Sims fumble snaps, Harvard fumble snaps. You're like, I get that there's pressure, but like, I watch a ton of college football. I don't see a lot of fumbled snaps at LSU or Alabama or Ole Miss or any of these top teams.
Yeah, and the true root of like a lot of the problem with this whole, what's the offensive identity and stuff. Well, we know what they're trying to do. It's just that now, like when it's not against Louisiana Tech and Northern Illinois, these last 2 games, like we haven't even really run the ball well. I mean, we run it 62% of the time. That's like
it's all Harvard.
That's 5th in the country. But the last 2 games, we went 39 rushes for 163 yards and 49 rushes for 158 yards. I mean, we're going.
How many of those are Harvard? They're basically all him, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, 15 to 20.
Crazy. They're just like. Do you think Sims plays?
I think that this last game was as good of an opportunity. I was actually surprised that we didn't see him in the second half. I mean, the way that Harburg was going, it just feels like it was. The one thing that he's had over Sims is the lack of turnovers, and I know one of them went off of Fedoni's hands, but he had that, and I think he also had a fumble and stuff first half too, and some botched exchanges. I mean, like if he starts to lose that edge, then you're losing reasons to be playing him. Like I know we're winning, and the argument is, well, we've won the games
4-1.
The other argument is, would we have lost those games with Sims? And I don't know. You saw him in 2 games, and they are 2 of our toughest games so far. He did not play well. He was not good enough. But would he have been good enough to beat Illinois and Northwestern?
Yeah. I don't know. The only thing is, I think Sims, I think if he's healthy and he can run, you got to get him in there. I worry about either of the guys. Is like
for him or something.
Yeah, but it's like, who are they throwing to, right? It's like you got Fedoni out there.
You're
throwing to Bullock. You're throwing to like they're just so far down on the guys. It's like we're about to be Tyhan, Bullock plus Fedoni, I guess, is going to be your go-to lineup.
There's tough I think that Rule is also like He's very clearly emphasized. I mean, like, how about Anthony Grant not starting? I mean, what in the world?
I don't. Something weird's going on there because, like,
No, but I think he just has placed such an emphasis on not turning the ball over.
yeah, but then why does Harvard keep playing? I mean, I don't know. That's an incomplete, like, I don't know. There's something weird going on with Grant. Like, he's the most dynamic running back, and I get that he keeps punishing him for fumbling, but Emmett Johnson fumbled last game and he got to start. Like, I don't know. It's inconsistent.
Yeah, it is a worrisome situation there on offense, but good news, Mal Coleman is figuring out how to play.
Okay.
And
There
Jaden
it is.
Dawson is figuring out
How
how
did
to
I not?
play.
Yeah. I was gonna say, how did I bring on Mal Coleman? Like, what if he turns it on?
These are good pieces. Like, Doss was a 4-star recruit. I mean, you want cream of the crop playing, like, he's one of them. And Mal Coleman, another 4-star recruit. Like, I know it's early, but now's the time, and they're starting to get involved. Even Jalen Lloyd, like, these are guys with potential. It's just that they're young.
If you can build your program
season, as you play more and more games, by the end of the season, you're a sophomore. Like,
yeah.
You've
I think it's great. I mean, Mal Coleman is probably not going to see the field if Marcus Washington is healthy, if IGC was healthy, if Kemp was healthy, if Xavier Betts is playing.
Yeah, they'd throw him out there in there, but
but he was probably not going to see. Now that he's playing catch, I mean, he was wide open.
I mean, he roasted that guy. It was amazing.
He was wide open.
Went
up and caught it, effortless catch.
Why it's taken us that long to figure out that this guy that runs like a 10-100 and
he runs like a deer.
4,
yeah, I mean, it's
gazelle. I
mean,
just put some air under it, and they did.
Well, you can see, like, his Sims can run, Harvard can run, Mal Coleman can run, Bedoni can, like, you can kind of hack together this roster that they clearly didn't want to play at the beginning of the season because none of these guys are on the depth chart, but, like, it's not terrible. Like, and everybody else has injuries too. Purdue's pretty banged up. They're missing a ton of guys. So, like, everybody's got injuries. You just are like, can we just keep it together?
Keep it together just barely.
I mean, it's such, like, it's fool's gold to, like, even talk about this stuff. But you're like, God, if we just had, like, Adrian Martinez, are we like 10-2? I mean, I don't know. It's, like, so dramatic, right? But at the same time, that dude found a way to lose, like, every game. So I don't know.
Well, let's get into Purdue.
Do it.
I've got a nice. I went off the deep end on Wikipedia, and I did a nice deep dive on this whole Boilermaker thing, which this whole thing started all the way back in the 1890s. I was just wondering, like, what it's all about and where it came from and all the origins and all of that. So here's it's story time.
I'm ready.
So the nickname origin actually came from what honestly sounds like illegal recruiting violations.
Car Stallions?
Do I have your attention now?
No, man.
So in the 1890s, this is from Purdue.edu. Under accusations of recruiting athletes from boiler shops, the Boilermakers name is adopted for Purdue's athletic teams. This is in 1890, an 85,000-pound Schenectady No. 1 locomotive was also purchased. So 2 big historic events there. Number 1, they bought this enormous freaking train, and the boilers are parts of the train, I think, from what I understand.
Perfect.
But number 2 is you're not supposed to be recruiting athletes from boiler shops. Everybody knows that. You can't be doing that. And so they started getting referred to as Boilermakers because they were rough and tough boys on the team. They only had 11 players on the team at the time, though. So the Boilermaker Special is Purdue's official mascot, and the official Purdue mascot is in the form of a locomotive. It's mounted on like an automobile. This thing makes it all the way to all away games, and it can apparently go 75 miles an hour. This thing is absolutely so wild that it goes to away games. It's mounted on a car, just flying down the highway. One thing that I was immediately thinking is, with conference realignment, is this thing making it, from Indiana to Oregon? Like, are we driving this Schenectady or the Boilermakers special. Is it making it to LA?
Love it. Get in.
Supposed to make it to every away game. Thing's unbelievable. It's an absolute tank if you look at it. It like drives fans around the stadium. So another little controversy for you. In the 1890s, West Lafayette, the town where it was founded, it was described as a town of, quote, Cornhuskers. According to one correspondent from the area, the town began referring to the Purdue team as a, quote, great big burly gang of cornhuskers and rail splitters and foundry molders and log haulers, none of which are professions really anymore. But at the time, those were all pretty, I guess that was a good description to have. But they were once referred to as the Cornhuskers at one point. So it's kind of the battle for the Cornhuskers.
Cornhuskers.
This
I like
is
it.
kind of like who's the true Cornhuskers here.
Yeah, I love it.
They drubbed Wabash College in 44-0 in 1891, and the game was referred to as the quote unquote slaughter of innocents. And Wabash got beat so badly that the slaughter of innocents was the game when they became known as the Boilermakers. So there you have it. That's the origin.
I love it.
Purdue Pete comes along in 1956. And this guy's head is one of the most sought-after mascot heads in the biz. He has been changed multiple times. There has been multiple attempted thefts, and there has been multiple times where he has been pelted with snowballs and attacked because of the size of this head, including a head that was over 50 pounds back in the 70s. So this is the glory of college football. In a nutshell, Purdue Pete, all of the history there, all of his head changes, all the facial expression changes, especially the one that looks extremely worried at all times, which is basically the present day one. And they should be, because I think we're going to win this weekend.
Of course. So Purdue, sort of having a weird season.
Yeah.
So they got Walters. You lose Braum. He goes to Louisville. Is tearing it up there. So he's clearly a winner. Braum is. Walters struggling, trying to find his footing.
Yeah.
And as far as the way their season's progressed.
Yeah. Opened up with a loss to Fresno.
Fresno State lost, tough loss. Beat Virginia Tech. That's a nice win. Syracuse lost. Wisconsin crushed them. Then they crushed Illinois. So there is a little bit of they've got, they played Iowa super tight. They lost 20-14. Where's the rest of these things? Who are their other losses? Ohio State.
They lost to
absolutely. Yeah, 41-7 Ohio State. There it is. They got absolutely crushed.
Syracuse, lost to Wisconsin, lost to Fresno State, lost to Ohio State, and but actually only lost by 6 at Iowa.
Yeah. So that's it. I mean, they played Iowa tough. They crushed Illinois. They put up a lot of points. So Hudson Card's their quarterback. If you remember him, which is crazy that he's still playing.
Yeah.
But they go from playing us to then Michigan, Minnesota, Purdue, or Minnesota, Northwestern, Indiana. They could be.
Yeah.
I mean, they could be 2-10.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know. But they also have sparks, and they're putting up a lot more points than we are. I mean, they put 44 on Illinois, and we did not, certainly.
Yeah. Their season average is not good.
Season average not good, but it's in there. I always get concerned of you would hate for them to repeat the Illinois game against us and then get blown out 49-0 against Michigan. Right? That's likely.
Of course,
right?
I would do that.
But they're hurt across the board. That's all the articles you read on them. They're starting right tackle, they're starting quarterback, they're starting tight end. They're all done for the season. They've got a bunch of guys banged up. Their running backs hurt. Hudson Card's strong.
Quarterback. What's the over-under on this game?
Oh, good question.
What's the legal limit to bet the under?
Well, that's that Iowa game. It went under last week. And they had the lowest total ever, and they hit the under on the lowest total ever recorded in modern football.
That was the easiest bet ever. Even going the lowest, it was so easy.
I don't know. This will be interesting.
Yeah. So
it doesn't seem like they're getting better.
Is 101st nationally at 5.1 yards per play. Husker Extra kind of broke things down a little bit.
Over under 39.5.
And so their offense stinks, and then their defensive yards per play is 5.9. So their defense kind of stinks. Their turnover margin, they're -5. I mean, this is a cut and copy model of us is what we're looking at
See,
here.
their kickers are 33%, which is like classic.
That sounds familiar too. We were, 3 of 7 recently until last week, aren't we? Now, aren't we up to 50% now?
50%. Alvano's banging them home now, baby.
Right. And they get a lot of penalty yards, almost 65 penalty yards a game. That's huge. I love hearing that. I absolutely love when like it's one of my favorite things to celebrate in the world is when a big play for the other team gets called back for holding. I just love it.
It's fantastic. You need a couple of those big ones down the line.
Yeah,
I don't know. Nebraska by 2.5, over under 39.5.
Yeah. So here's the battle breakdown. So our offense versus their defense, right? So their defense is bad, our offense is bad. But they're allowing 284.7 pass yards per game. That's the third worst in the country. That is like, to me, that's a huge deal to be facing such a porous, horrid secondary, because anybody that can play lockdown pass defense we're just immediately in huge trouble.
Yeah, we're no chance.
Because it just doesn't give you any sort of like that option to run or pass. So their pass defense stinking is huge. They're also allowing 29 points a game. That's also outside the top 100. But last year with Walters, he was averaging 12.7. So he's a good defensive coach. That he can probably game plan for us. But I don't know, offense versus defense. Do you think we win that battle?
Oh no. I'm telling you, I've completely.
Okay.
No, absolutely not. I've watched enough of these games.
Tried to talk you into it.
No, I appreciate that. It's a good hustle. It's good effort. It's good homework. I appreciate all that, but no, absolutely not.
If they're so bad, then you just say we can't be as bad.
My floor is so low, but it truly is like we are in survival mode until we get to the offseason and we can go to the transfer portal and get some more wide receivers and some better players that will remain healthy. But like for right now, it's like we need 2 touchdowns.
All freshmen.
We need 2 touchdowns.
You
need one Malcolm in post route, and you need one Harburg grinded out drive. 2 touchdowns out of 8, 10 drives. And then you can't have back-breaking turnovers. And if you do that, I do think the defense will keep them under 10 again. Yeah, and that to me is like, if your defense can keep you under 10, and hopefully they can. Looks like they've, Ohio State kept them under 10, Iowa kept them under 14. Wisconsin held them, so like they can be held. I just think I have such confidence in the defense in that regard that I just don't think the offense is going to magically figure it out.
Yeah, you mentioned the special teams. Their kicking game kind of stinks. I think that we can have the edge in that battle. I think our offense versus their defense is more or less neutral. Neutral-ish. But then it comes down to their offense versus our defense.
Which we're going to win it. I feel great about that matchup.
The only thing concerning for me, so Hudson Card, he's a pretty athletic quarterback.
Yeah, he's good.
He can run, and that's a type of quarterback that we haven't really played. Altmaier's had a couple scrambles.
You saw
what Shadur was able to do.
Yeah, which is not good.
He got sacked 8 times, but he was
able I guess that's what's like
space with his legs.
We had 8 sacks of Sanders. We had 8 sacks last weekend. Reimer's back. They're tackling really well. They do have, there's definitely concerns there. Like, do we have busts? We've had a bust or 2 per game.
Yeah.
As long as you chase them down, you're good. But 8 sacks is crazy. 13 tackles for loss. These numbers are like crazy that they're putting up.
Yeah, and Purdue's sitting at 3.7 yards a rush. So that's 85th in the country.
I think running backs hurt. Like I feel good about that.
Devin Maccabee from last year, he's back again. So I'm pretty confident in our ability to stop the rush. Our pass defense is the weakness, though. And if we can get to Card, that's going to be where this game ends up being won. We've got great receiver Deion Burks. He's a game breaker there, but I think that like that's going to be the key is just, and honestly, the key to the entire game, because I think you're right. Our offense is going to be able to pull off 14,
That's
maybe
it.
20,
Oh, and
21.
then here's a crazy thought.
Can our
What about-
defense score?
Yes. What about pick six? Like we haven't had one all season. This is the most dominant defense we've had in a decade, and you haven't had one defensive score. No fumble return for a touchdown. No pick six for a touchdown. Like that's and again, you keep coming back to Iowa, but like they count on Cooper DeJean. He scored all their touchdowns. He's the best player on the field, and he scores all their touchdowns, and he's on defense. But like that's all of our best players are on defense too. You know, like I don't know. That's where it's like I'm bullish on that side, and I can honestly like I rewatched the game late Saturday and then early Sunday again, and it was like I like had to fast forward through the offense. I can't even watch it, which breaks my heart because that's the only part I really like to watch. But I can't even like stomach it. I'm like, here comes a fumbled snap followed by Harburg throwing it into the stands. This is fun.
Yeah, I mean it stinks because offense is like the sexy part of the game. It's like when you catch a lot of eyeballs, what everybody wants to watch. And the Big Ten West has the six like worst offenses on the planet.
Yeah, I will say, and I guess this is our final thoughts. I know we got to wrap up here. I think we said this a bunch of times. I do think Nebraska fans are broken. I'm broken. You're broken. We're all broken in the sense of like, I'm sure every fan was watching that game. I was we're going to blow this, right? Like Northwestern is going to score. They're going to have some broken play and they're going to come back and win, right? In the exact same way everybody was watching the Illinois game and we kept having all those turnovers and you're like, yep, this is going to be a colossal meltdown and it's just going to completely fall apart and we're going to lose. So you got to give some props to the fact that we haven't.
No,
and so like you follow like the fan base right now on Twitter is like, hemming and hawing, and rightfully so, because the offense is a disaster. We have the right to be critical of it, but you're also like,
who do we think we are? I mean,
we've lost those games the last 2 years in just absolutely debilitating, backbreaking fashion of we're beating Northwestern by 8. Here it comes. They're going to come back and win. We're beating Illinois by 2 scores. Here comes a turnover. And like the fact that we're standing up, that we're standing up and not letting them do it with a defense that's proud and has a ton of pride and plays hard, that to me is why you're like, God, I think we could win. These next couple, it's just like that. That's what gives me more confidence. Like the teams historically, like the last 5 years,
feels very attainable.
Well, they just the teams the last 5 years, they're just like they're gonna find a way to lose, and they did, and the mentality wasn't there. And this one is different. They just do like this defense is like. It's almost like they're cheering them on to like, all right, here comes the offense. They're going to screw this up. We're going to clean it up. And like, you see them in the interviews, they like take pride in it. So I don't know. I'm all about that.
Yeah. I think that if our defense is on the field in the last 2 minutes of pretty much every game the rest of the season, and we have a lead, I have not felt more confident that we're going to win in several years. And like, whereas in the past, I mean, and that's like the type of thing that we just need to get used to. It's like stop being so critical and just enjoy the fact that like we won again.
Yeah.
And we absolutely can win every. It is not a crazy statement to say that we can win or lose every single game the rest of the year.
We very realistically
lose out, but we can win out.
It's very unrealistic, but also realistic. We could be playing in Indianapolis as like the sacrificial lamb that goes against Connor Stallions and the sign-stealing Michigan Wolverines who beat us 63-0. 63-0 with 7 freshmen. With 7 freshmen starting on the offensive. No, I mean, I think if we could sneak our way in, outstanding. But like, I think you can get that. And this, I guess, maybe this will be my parting shot. Is I was kind of thinking about this, like part of me wants to blame Rule and be like, what are you doing? Like, how come all these guys are getting hurt? This is crazy. Like, how come we're not game planning the right way on offense? Like, this is pathetic, all this stuff. And I think there's a lot of that chatter. But the other part of me is like, if this guy takes this offense to a bowl game, he should win Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I'm like, if this guy can motivate a team of true freshmen on offense that have never played before in their lives and did not think they would see the field, and he can motivate them to a bowl game. That is a coach of the year.
The Mighty Ducks here.
I mean, it's a coach of the year type thing where you're like, it's frustrating when you watch it live. You're like, this team stinks, but then when you think about it, you're like, he's playing with 0 players on the opening roster. He's got scout team guys on defense.
Isn't it 7? I think it's 7 from our starting offense that are out.
Well, I mean, if you truly dig into it, and you go to the off season too. So Xavier Betts, IGC, Marcus Washington, Kemp. That's 4 wide receivers. You're starting 4 wide receivers. Eric Gilbert. Yeah. So there's your starting tight end. That's 5 plus 2 running backs.
Planned on having. So yeah, I mean, I'm
and a starting quarterback. That's 9. That's 9 of your 11 starters.
Well, he's back now. We just pretend like he doesn't exist.
But now he's down three starting linemen for the season, including Turner Corcoran.
Yeah.
So that to me, I'm like, man, if this guy could weasel away to if he can figure out, I mean, with his pregame speeches and he can motivate these guys with this kind of a roster, then it's like, all right, just wait if we actually get.
Oh my gosh!
A transfer portal.
In the transfer portal.
Yeah, you go to town in the transfer portal, and you actually get some real talent.
We're gonna lock some key freshmen down. Like we already have a 26 recruits coming in. I think it is now after Barta decommitted, and I mean, you got Caleb Benning now coming this way. I mean, people are buying in, and you scrap together a bowl season with this. Coach of the millennium.
Yeah, I just think and that's probably because we're broken as a fan base, and we've just never seen a coach know how to win ever in the last 10 years. But
that's the thing.
The bar's low. The bar's very low, but you're also he's playing with all backups and third string guys.
And the offense averages 3 points a game and we win every single game. Who cares?
Yeah, it's certainly not been the most exciting season to watch, but it's exciting from the winning standpoint. Anyway, all right, let's wrap this thing up. What's your score prediction?
I think that Purdue's bad enough and we're good enough. 21. I do think they're going to put up some points to 17.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sticking with my 14-10. No, actually, I'm going to change that. 14-9. I'm going to hold them under 10.
Okay.
But I do think we get 2 touchdowns.
That sounds just so appetizing.
2 touchdowns. Because that's what we're going to get. We're going to have 1 on defense, 1 on offense, and they're going to kick 3 field goals.
I want to change mine. Can I just change mine to 19? Just I'll just say 19 to 17.
And a safety. Yeah, I think Harburg's good for 1 touchdown. The defense will score 1 touchdown. And
Great.
Then that's it.
Hell yeah.
All right, folks. We got to wrap this thing up. We got kids to go put to bed. We got stuff to go to. Thanks for listening, as always, at the HuskGuys podcast.